Kyle Henderson here at BamaInsider.com, coming to you from Tuscaloosa, Alabama, on the line with Andrew Bone of BamaInsider.com. What's good, Bone? How you been, man?
Hey, what's going on, man?
Over the next couple of weeks, we'll be breaking down tons of prospects here on BamaInsider.com as we continue to get busy with this class of 2019 class. And we have to start off with Webb, one of the nation's top offensive linemen, #1 player in the state of Alabama. Bone, what makes him such a special talent and hopefully someone that Alabama would grab for the class of 2019?
Well, Clay's just such a good kid. I mean, first and foremost, I mean, every time you get a chance to spend some time with him, whether it's watching him on a Friday night or seeing him at a football camp during the spring, he's just such a nice and respectable kid, and always ready to work. He's one of those just kind of your throwback offensive linemen. You look at maybe some of the past players who played in Tuscaloosa, and I think back to maybe Ryan Kelly, who's now with the Colts, or even William Vlahos, who was star center for Alabama early on in the Nick Saban years. I mean, those are some of the those are some really good centers that played for Alabama. You can even think back to Bradley Bozeman or Ross Piercebaker. Those guys really remind Clay Webb reminds me a lot of those type offensive linemen, just ready to go to work, always willing to work, put in that extra work. A big physical guy. And he's 6'2", 6'3", right at about, I'd say he's under 300 pounds, but just a really strong kid. A guy that has great work ethic. He's the #1 player in the state of Alabama for a reason. He's got a great football knowledge, high football IQ. He's been a great leader for his high school football team for the last couple of years, and he's very strong. I mean, as I mentioned earlier, he's a very strong kid, but very technical. He's got a state championship to his name, and on the wrestling team, state champion wrestler. Just overall, just really good kid, and somebody that obviously a lot of teams in the entire country want, a lot of colleges want, especially Alabama. I mean, Alabama has recruited him for a very long time, started recruiting him, I believe, when he was a sophomore, and they've got a great chance to sign him.
We're on the line with Andrew Bone of BamaInsider.com, highlighting Clay Webb, 5-star offensive lineman out of Oxford, Alabama. Bone, as we look in the past, you've seen a lot of offensive linemen come to the state. Is he up there with some of the best you've ever seen from the state of Alabama?
Well, I don't think there's any doubt about that. And I've had a chance to really evaluate a lot of top offensive linemen through the years, and we've seen some 5-star offensive linemen. Andre Smith. Everybody looks back at Andre as kind of he was the cream of the crop, the best offensive lineman that we had seen in the state of Alabama in a very long time. And Andre was Mr. Football in the state of Alabama his senior year. You never see an offensive lineman win Mr. Football in the state, and Andre did that, and kind of opened up the door for other linemen to win that award and get some recognition for the big uglies. And I think Clay's definitely got some elite talent. Can he play as a true freshman? That's what a lot of people want to. That's what a lot of people expect out of a 5-star. What I expect out of a 5-star is I expect a kid who can come in, can possibly contribute, but you know what? He may not contribute right away. And I'm not saying Clay Webb won't, but I'm just saying as a 5-star in general, he may not contribute right away. But 2-3 years down the road, he's a college football All-American. He's potentially a first-round NFL draft pick. And we've started to see more and more offensive linemen who aren't tackles get drafted in the first round of the NFL draft. And we used to think the only players who were getting taken in the first round of the NFL draft who are offensive linemen are tackles. Mostly left tackles. Saw a few right tackles go from time to time, but mostly it was left tackles. But now we're seeing guards. We're even seeing centers taken in the first round. Ryan Kelly, a center, taken in the first round of the NFL draft. Which was you never really saw before, but now we see it more and more. And Clay Webb certainly has he's certainly very talented, and certainly a kid who, if he continues to grow, continues to develop, he's got a chance to really transform himself into a great college offensive lineman.
We're on the line right now with Andrew Bone of BamaInsider.com. He's our recruiting analyst. We are talking about Clay Webb, 5-star out of the state of Alabama, Oxford, 6'4", 285 pounds. He's got schools like Alabama, Arkansas, Auburn, Clemson, Florida, Georgia. The list goes on and on. What's going on with his recruitment right now, Bone?
Well, Clay's just enjoying the process. And I know a lot of people think, well, he's been a recruit for so long. He's taken all these visits. I mean, his recruitment really started when he was a sophomore. So he kind of had a leg up in terms of taking visits and being recruited by a lot of top colleges throughout the country. I've had a chance to spend some time with him and some of other guys within our network, and it seems like there's 3 or 4 schools who are always mentioned with him: Alabama, Auburn, Clemson, Georgia, Tennessee. Those are some schools that he's always really liked, and school he always mentions is Alabama's always a school that's always mentioned. And I've seen some different reports where where Georgia's been in that top 3 or 4, and then maybe another report even from the same day where he names the top 3 or 4, and Georgia may not be in it, or Tennessee's in it, and then in the next one they're not in it. It could be for a number of different schools, but Alabama is always in it for him. There's no doubt about it. Brent Key, who he's mentioned several times in the past, Alabama's offensive line coach, he has the best relationship with him of any college coach right now. He said he really reminds him of one of his uncles. That's how close his relationship is with him. And so I think that Alabama's in very, very good position. Will he announce a decision before his senior season? I don't think that's the case. Last time I talked to him, he said his plan was to announce in December. That's when he will sign. He plans on signing in whatever date that is in December, that early signing period. That's his plan for right now. We'll see if he holds true to that, but I know he's going to take a lot of visits this summer. I know he wants to get back to a lot of different schools, all those schools that I mentioned earlier, Alabama, Auburn, Clemson, Georgia, Tennessee. He wants to get back to all those places again this summer, and then kind of enjoy some visits this fall. And I know a lot of people want to say, well, he's a slam dunk to Alabama because he's visited there so many times. He has some close friends who are committed there, like Pierce Quick, Paul Tyson, guys from Hewitt-Trussville, guys that he's done a lot of recruiting visits with. But, I would still, watch out for some of these other schools because these other schools aren't giving up on him. They're heavily recruiting him. And he's definitely keeping an eye and an ear open to a lot of these other schools.
We're on the line with Andrew Bone of BamaInsider.com. My name is Kyle Henderson. We're going to be doing a whole bunch of prospect series with Andrew over the next couple weeks. Today we started out with Clay Webb, and stick around as we'll continue to pump out content as we move through the summer season. Class of 2019 really heating up for Alabama. Bone, everybody wants Clay Webb. In the end, can Alabama sign Clay Webb, the 5-star out of Oxford, Alabama?
I think so. If I had to put money on it right now, I'd say that Clay Webb does end up signing with Alabama. Of course, like I said, we're still a long way away from that happening, but Alabama is definitely very high on his list. And in the end, I think he ends up rolling with the Crimson Tide. If he ends up jumping on board, we'll give Alabama certainly one of the strongest offensive line classes that they've signed, and definitely probably the best in the country.
As Nick Saban said, they're not done yet. Continue to follow our content back on BamaInsider.com. Look for the free 30-day trial. And if you have account questions, always email me, Kyle at BamaInsider.com. Stick around for our next episode. Find it on our YouTube page and all our content back at BamaInsider.com.